So in this Battletech podcast, we're going to explore the Ostscout. What place does it have tactically, and just how much does the narrative affect this type of mech? Now, if you're new to Battletech, one of the interesting things that we grapple with, that we explore, that is something we can take advantage of, there's really two ways to play tabletop Battletech as a war game. The first is to look at the units from battle value, optimum perspective, and bring the best of the best mechs. Another way is to look at the narrative of the game. And in the Battletech universe, there's this idea these mechs were created not only for warfare, but for profit. So we see a number of mechs that fulfill a very, very, very specific role, say like the Vulcan, suppressing anti-tank, anti-infantry. But if you have a Vulcan going up against a mech, it's going to be very challenging. Then we have some mechs that are just absolute garbage. Not very good, mass-produced, put together, not very efficient, but they're cheap in terms of C-bills. And the idea was with the Star League, selling these as military contracts, making tons and tons of money. It's like Ed 209. Who cares if it works? It's just about the parts and the support. And then there are mechs like the Ostscout. In the narrative, this mech has a very advanced communications suite and electronic warfare, a lot of sensors, and it's a really deep recon type mech. And it has arms that look like lasers, but really the sensors are in there and it waves them around and it can tell a lot of stuff. It's kind of like the Scout version of the Cyclops, another battle mech that's an assault battle mech. Not too bad armed. I actually like playing the Cyclops, but its narrative, its strength is as a command vehicle to literally control the battlefield. Well, the Ostscout, for that role, doesn't really translate well into the tabletop because essentially it's a light mech. It is pretty fast. It's a light mech that has one medium laser on there. And for the battle value, even if you stay within that class of mech, there are better mechs. The Spider is better all around tactically of what the Ostscout does on the table. So why would you play the Ostscout? And tactically, if you had to play the Ostscout, and we're going to open it up in the comments, how would you do that? How would you begin to approach it? Well, you could play it. I have to say a lot of my Battletech games are head-to-head, blow things up, try to cause the most damage, the most carnage, and see who survives on there. But the Battletech universe, I encourage you, as I encourage myself, to explore missions that take advantage of the narrative. So you might be playing an Ostscout and maybe some other light mechs up against light mechs and medium mechs where you have to recon a map and you have to hit certain points on there. So there are missions where you might find yourself playing this mech even if it's not the best tactical choice because we're immersing ourselves in the narrative. That's one way to use it. Tactically, the way to use it, with one medium laser, run and gun. Just run an absolute gun. You could run it to the left or right flank, try to get around behind, try to get rear armor, but one pop gun medium laser, what's that really going to do? You could send it to skirmish and hunt down other light mechs. A great example of this would be the Jenner. Jenner should really be a medium mech, in my opinion, on there. Jenner is beast. It's got speed. It's got decent armor. It's got multiple redundancy on the lasers. It's got the short-range missiles on there. A Jenner is a great light mech, even at the higher battle value and spectrum, to send out to attack rear armor, to engage heavier weight class mechs where they're at a disadvantage. And if things start to not work out that well, you pull out, you get out of there. So often what you'll see is other light mechs will be sent to skirmish light mechs to keep them off and away. So let's send the Ostscout to do that. You know, this kind of idea with the Jenner. The Jenner will laugh at it. The Jenner could ignore it or just blow it up. So the Ostscout is so lightly armed and armored that for the battle value, what's it really going to do? So we're not going to use it that way. Tactically, how I would use it, and a mech commander would never use this in the narrative. They would withdraw and get it off the field. But maybe there's nowhere to go. Maybe the mission is you're cornered. I would run and gun. This is where you have a medium mech or a heavy mech. The light mech walks with it, And essentially, once everyone gets into range, the light mech is going to zoom ahead, zoom forward, and literally use speed and using jump capability to stack the maximum amount of hexes that it can. It's going to look to stay in cover, essentially throw up lots and lots of hit modifiers. So if your opponent's shooting their 10s, their 11s, their 12s, it is going to try and fire back, but I'm not worried about putting out damage. And essentially, I'm trying to give you a choice and hoping my opponent will take that choice and say, if I shoot at that Ostscout or this light mech in this capacity, if I hit, I'll take it out. It's gone. Now, I got the kill. I took a mech out. I dropped a potential initiative movement point on my opponent rather than engaging, say, that heavy mech and softening up a heavy mech on the way in. So if my Warhammer's moving forward, I'd rather have them shooting at the Ostscout tactically in this presentation than starting to shoot at my Warhammer and maybe knocking off a couple of armor bubbles on there for when we do engage danger close on there. That's the only real tactical way I see it. But again, this is the Ostscout is up there. If I played it in-game, I would never, ever, ever be engaging. It's just absolutely not. It's too valuable of a machine. It's too rare on there, and it would only be utilized deep recon or in really, really extreme situations if it was pressed into combat. And that would only be long enough for it to get the heck out of there. So I'm going to turn it around to you guys. The Ostscout tactically, how would you approach to use it? And this type of light class, light mech, how would you begin to explore it?